All right, guys. So in this case, I want us to consider the part two of our flow diagrams. Remember, we worked with the previous exercise, and in that exercise, which is this exercise two, we had some questions, which is, can we have a revision of question 4, question 5, question 6, and it was actually something that was, okay, let me work on it. So this is it, guys. We are going to work with this, but I was expecting you guys to give me the answers on the comment section, like what exactly are you obtaining, so that we can correct each other from there. But anyways, let us see what we are given. Remember, the exercise is on determining, that is to find the input values. So in this case, you're asked to determine the input values in the following flow diagram. So remember, the input are the values of X. These are the values of X that you are inserting into the rule to obtain the output values representing Y. All right. And we do understand that, like I said before, this here can be written, the output, which is Y in this case, can be written in terms of this rule that we are given. All right, so that is, let us consider question number 4. So remember what I said, this output Y is equal to the rule that we are given. So that is equal to 1 over 3x plus a 3. That is Y in terms of X, Y written in terms of X. So whatever value that you are going to have here, if you are to substitute that here, whatever value that you're going, you must obtain these values that are corresponding. So it is up to you. Like I said, you can solve it as an equation because you have got the Y value, which is, in this case, let's start with a 2. If Y is 2, you can substitute this. 2 is equal to 1 over 3x plus a 3. What is it that you have formed? You replace the 2 in place of Y. 2 is from where? From the output, where we are given Y. So the input is X, the output is Y. So Y there is 2. So as you can see, it's an equation that you have to solve. So we can take this 3 to the other side. That is going to be a minus. So 2 minus 3, that is going to give us minus 1. All right. So minus 1 in place of what? The 2 minus 3 that we got. So minus 1 is equal to, remember we took this to the other side. So we are remaining with this 1 over 3. So we are going to remain with 1 over 3x. How can we remove this 3? This is 1 over 3. Remember, from our multiplicative inverse, this is 1 over 3. Its multiplicative inverse is supposed to be a 3. So by multiplying by a 3 this side, by multiplying by 3 this side, we are removing the 1 over 3 that we are having. So that's 1 over 3 times this is going to be 1 times x, which is x. And that is 3 times minus 1, which is minus 3. So as we can see, we can obtain the x value, which corresponds when Y is a 2, by solving it as an equation. So it's up to you. You do the same thing. When this is a 4, you substitute in place of Y. In this case, Y is what? A 4. This time it's a 4. That is what we have in this case. So 4 is equal to this part as it is. So as you can see, we've got the same thing. 1 over 3, x plus 3. The same way that you solve this, you have taken this to the other side. It was a minus 4 minus 3, which is 1. So 1 is equal to 1 over 3x. So what are you going to do? Multiplicative inverse, just like the same part that we had, multiply by 3, multiply by 3. This cancels, you remain with x. So x is equal to 3 times 1, which is a 3. So in that case, x is going to be a 3. So you've got the value of x corresponding if y is a 4. This is what you're going to do in each and every part if you are to solve as an equation. So like I said, the way that you solve, it's in your hands. We're going to have another way. All right, you do the same thing. If this is 6, the output, y is 6. So in place of y, we're going to substitute a 6. So 6 is equal to 1 over 3x plus a 3. We solve again, take to this other side. 6 minus 3, that is a 3, which is equal to 1 over 3x. So just like the previous case, multiply by 3 to remove this. So that is x is equal to 3 times 3, which is a 9. So that was going to give us a 9 if our y is a 6. If this is 8, you do the same thing. In place of this y, you're going to substitute 8. So that's 8 is equal to 1 over 3x as it is, plus a 3. All right, take this 3 to the other side. That is going to be 8 minus 3 because that is a plus. So this side is to be a minus 3. You subtract. So that is going to be 8 minus 3, which is 5. So 5 is equal to 1 over 3x. Just like the previous case, multiply by 3. That's going to cancel. You've got x. 3 times 5, which is 15. So that is why the x value was going to be a 15. So you can substitute into the formula that we are given, the y value, to obtain the x value. Remember, it is just like what we were given before when you were obtaining the value of the output, 1 over 3x plus 3. Let's just try. If the input is minus 3, which is x, y is equal to 1 over 3 times x, which is minus 3. The input there is minus 3. Then we add the 3 that we are given. That is how we were solving before. But in this case, it was just a definite thing that you substitute direct, you just simplify this side because already we have y equal to. So you just have to simplify this. But in this case, by substituting the y value, you are having another part in terms of x that is on the other side. So in that case, you must solve. Here is just using your calculator. You can just determine a third of this, that is minus 1 plus a 3. So y is equal to a 2, which is exactly what we have. So if we substitute these values on the input back into this formula, we must obtain exactly these corresponding values. That is to check if your values are correct. All right, so this is the first way that you can do. Or like I said, we are given this, that is y in terms of x. The way that it is written here, we say this, it is y in terms of x. That is how this equation is being presented. Y is written in terms of x. Y is in terms of the other side, we've got x. Y is equal to something that is written of x. So it means if I substitute the x value, I obtain direct the value of y. So what if I write this in the other way, x in terms of y? What if we do that? Write x in terms of y. Why writing x in terms of y? Because we need to determine x, which is the input. So you can change this equation and write it as x is equal to write x in terms of y. It means x is equal to something there in terms of y that has got y there. X is equal to. So how can we write that x is equal to? It's like you are solving this equation. Let's say you are given something like this. You want to solve for x. How can you solve for x? But in terms of what? In terms of y. Your answer is supposed to have x and y at the same time. That is to make x the subject. It's like if you're working with the substitution method, remember, you can make x the subject, transpose. So you can do that. Take this 3 to the other side of the equation. It is going to be a minus, the same way that you are solving the equation. So it is going to be a minus. So you have to write that x in terms of y. So y minus 3 is equal to 1 over 3x. This is where we are. We want to find or to solve x, but it is 1 over 3x. So how are you going to remove these 3? Just like the previous case, we are working with the multiplication. So we need its inverse, the multiplicative inverse, which is the reciprocal of 1 over 3. That is a 3. So we multiply by a 3. But whatever that you do is supposed to be done also on this side. But this is an expression. So we must open a bracket for these 3 to show that it is going to affect everything Or you can just multiply 3 times y, which is 3y, 3 times minus 3, which is minus 9. It's up to you. All right. So a third times a 3, that's going to cancel. You remain with x, which is equal to 3 into the bracket of y minus 3, or you can expand the bracket. It is up to you. So as we can see, we have an equation where x is now in terms of y, where we are saying x is equal, just like what we had, y is equal to. Now it's x is equal to. That is to write x in terms of y. X is equal to something that is in terms of y, where we are having y. So this is still an equation just like what we had before, but now it is relating the input. Remember, x is the input in terms of the output. In terms of the output. So it means we can substitute these output into this to find the values of x. All right, let me show you what I'm trying to say. So now that's another way. So this one, you just have to make x the subject, that is to solve for x. Then from there, you just substitute whatever that you're given there. So let's start. When y is equal to 2, that is the first part, x is going to be 3. In place of y, you substitute a 2, so that's 2 minus 3. So this, just use your calculator straight on your calculator. You're going to obtain minus 3. You do the same thing when y is equal to a 4. You substitute a 4 in place of y there. So that's 3 into 4 minus a 3. So this is what you're going to do. You simplify each and every part. You're going to obtain a 3. When this is a 6, you substitute in place of y a 6. In place of y, you substitute an 8. You are going to obtain these values as they are that we got before. So that's another way. I do not know which one is best for you, but you can use this way of making x, of writing x in terms of y. That to write x in terms of y means to make x the subject. Okay, let me just stop there. Write x in terms of y. I think you understand me by that. All right, there we are given on question number 5 again, the input in terms of x, the rule, then also the output. So let's see what we are given. So like I said, y is written in terms of the rule. So y is equal to the rule, 2 over 3x. The output is always equal to the rule. So we can do like the previous case where we need to substitute the values of x, we solve for y. We substitute the values of y, we solve for x, or we make x the subject. It's up to you. So let's start with the first part of substituting the values. Okay, so if y is 6, as we can see, we are given the y value, which is 6. So if y is 6, you substitute in place of y, 6 is equal to this part as it is. So that is 2 over 3x plus a 4. Okay, what have you formed? An equation. So solve for x. You formed an equation, so simply solve for x. So make sure that you also do revise your equations where you solve for x in order for you to understand this. It is part of equations also. It is part of equations. If you do not know how to solve an equation, 6 is equal to 3x plus 4 as a normal topic, as a topic on its own, then this is going to be a challenge because we are using that part of our solving as we were solving our equation. That is exactly what we are doing. All right. So let's take 4 to the other side. That is going to be a minus. It was a positive. This side will be a minus. 6 minus 4, which is a 2. So 2 is equal to 2 over 3x. All right. So this is what you can do. It's up to you to solve this part. There are so many ways. If you are given 2 is equal to 2 over 3x, it's up to you how you solve. You can choose to multiply by the multiplicative inverse. Remember what I said about the multiplicative inverse. It is the reciprocal of this. So the reciprocal of 2 over 3 is 3 over 2. The reciprocal means interchanging. If you're given 1 over 2, you interchange, it will be 2 over 1. So if you're given 2 over 3, you interchange, so it will be 3 over 2. That is the multiplicative inverse. Remember, 2 over 3 times its multiplicative inverse, 3 over 2, is supposed to give us what? It is supposed to give us a 1 from our grade 8. Remember that? Okay, so we are going to multiply by the multiplicative inverse, 3 over 2. What you've done on this side is supposed to be done also on this side. That's an equation. So this simply gives us x. So that is x is equal to 3 over 2 times 2. You can use your calculator, or you can simply cancel this. That is going to be 3 times 1, which is 3. So x is going to be 3. So we have obtained the value of x when y is a 6. So you simply have to solve. If you're using this concept, or from this part here, you can simply take this as it is. This is 2 over 3. You can solve this way. This is 2 over 3. So you can simply divide by this. You want to remove it. So you simply divide by 2 over 3. So it must be in a bracket. This one also in a bracket. You divide here by 2 over 3 like this. So by dividing by 2 over 3, these two simply cancels. So on your calculator, you are going to use it to divide 2 divided by 2 over 3 like this. This is how you're going to present on your calculator. You are going to obtain a 3, or simply 2 divided by 2 over 3. You are still going to obtain that 3. All right, so that is another way that you can solve this. So still our x was going to be a 3. Or you can even use the cross multiplication concept. It was 2 is equal to 2 over 3x. This 2 is same as 2 over 1. So you can do the cross multiplication. So cross multiplication, 3 multiplies this side, 1 multiplies this side. So it's 1 times 2x. 1 times 2. This is one part here. So it's going to be 2x is equal to 3 times 2, which is 6. Okay? So at this stage, it is now easier. We can simply divide by 2, divide by 2. So as we can see, we still obtain the same value of x, which is 3. So I do not know which way were you going to use to solve from that stage that we were. All right, but that is how you're going to do it. Then we move on to the next one. When y is 12, you do the same thing. 12 is equal to 2 over 3x plus a 4. Take this 4 to the other side. It's going to be a minus. 12 minus 4, that's 8. So that is 8 is equal to 2 over 3x. So it's going to depend with how you're going to do it. Divide, or you are going to multiply by the reciprocate, by the multiplicative inverse. It is up to you guys. But this was going to give us a 12. 8 divided by 2 over 3, that's a 12. So you're going to obtain a 12 in that case. In the same sense, we can solve when this here is 18. Y is 18. So in place of y, substitute 18. 2 over 3x plus a 4. Take this to the other side. That's 18 minus 4, which is 14, is equal to 2 over 3x. So you have to subtract 18 minus a 4 to this side. Okay, so that's 14. From here, sorry for that. All right, so from here we can simply divide, or you can multiply by that part that we used, or you can simply divide by 2 over 3 by 2 over 3. So this is going to cancel, and you obtain a 21. 14 divided by 2 over 3, that's 21, is equal to x. So meaning to say, that was going to give us a 21. In the same sense, if you were to solve, if this is 24, you're going to substitute again, guys. All right, so that's it throughout. So as we can see, it is simply solving of the equation. All right, so that's a 24, which is equal to 2 over 3x plus a 4. So let's take to the other side. 24 minus a 4, that's a 20. So that's 20 is equal to 2 over 3x. So we can divide by this 2 over 3, straightforward, or we can use any other way that we understand. So by dividing, 20 divided by 2 over 3 is going to give us a 30. So that was going to give us a 30. Okay. So from our calculator, I'm going to obtain a 30, or you can just simplify. So that's 30. If this is 24, if y is 24. All right. Or we can simply use this concept, making x the subject, or writing x in terms of y to solve for x first. Like I said before, it is another way. How can we solve for x? Okay. Given that y is equal to 2 over 3x plus a 4. That's another way that we can opt, where we start by solving for x, to write x in terms of y. So just like the previous case, we take this to the other side. that was going to be a 4, minus. Remember, this is a plus. So this side will be a minus. Y minus 4 is equal to 2 over 3x. All right. So the major question is at this stage that how can we simplify it from here? So it is up to you. You're going to cross multiply, or you use the multiplicative inverse at this stage to say, this is 2 over 3 that you want to remove it. So the multiplicative inverse, remember, we talked about this, 2 over 3 times, just interchange that. So it will be 3 over 2. So you interchange this 3 on top, 2 in the denominator. If you multiply a number to its inverse, we obtain what? A 1. So that is the major reason why we are determining the multiplicative inverse, so that if we multiply by that multiplicative inverse, we obtain a 1 times x, which means we have got x. But this multiplicative inverse is also supposed to affect this side. So you multiply also by 3 over 2. Okay, so that's we obtain 1 times x, which is x. So meaning to say x is equal to 3 over 2 into y minus 4 in bracket like that. You can have it just like that. It is a relationship that you have created, that you have in terms of y, of x, written in terms of y, which is 3 over 2 into the bracket of y minus 4. So with this relationship that we have, we can determine whatever that we want from this relationship. We can determine whatever that we want, provided that we are given y value, which is the output, to determine x, which is the input value. So we simply have to substitute. That's another way that you can use. All right, so let's take our output value. Let's start with what we have. When y is 6, you substitute in place of y, you're going to put a 6 there. So meaning to say x was going to be, in place of y, you substitute a 6, as 3 over 2 into 6 minus 2. So 6 minus 4, sorry, 6 minus 2, just like that. 3 over 2 into 6. In place of y, you substitute the 6. So this is going to give you a 3, just like what we got before. You do the same thing if this y is 12. So x is going to be what? 3 over 2 into, in place of y, you substitute a 12. So that's 12 minus 4. So in that case, you're going to obtain a 12. You do the same thing when y is 18. X is going to be 3 over 2 in place of y, you substitute 18. So that's 18 minus 4, which was going to give us a 21. Same thing, when this is 24, you substitute x is equal to 3 over 2. In place of y here, you substitute a 24. So that's 24 minus a 4. You are going to obtain a 30. So it's in your hands. The way that you're going to use, are you going to first make x the subject? After making x the subject, you substitute the values that you're given, or you're going to solve, direct the equation that you're given. All right. Considering this question, which is our question 6, we are given again output y is equal to the rule, which is x squared plus 1. Okay. That is what we are given in this case. Y is equal to x squared plus 1. So let's substitute and see if we are using that substitution method, where we have to take the y value, we take it into the equation. So 5 in place of y is equal to x squared minus 1. How are you going to solve this type of an equation? How are you going to solve this? All right, sorry, that's a plus 1 here. Sorry, that's a plus 1 here. X squared plus 1. How are you going to solve this? You are going to take this 1 to the other side. It becomes a minus. So that means we have got 5 minus 1, which is a 4. And that is equal to x squared. Remember, when you're dealing with exponential equations, x squared is equal to 9. X to the exponent of 3 is equal to 27. Where you were working with the exponent that you are given, you can remove this by introducing the square root. If there is a 2, if there is any other number that you're given, you write the number as it is the cube root of 27. By the way, the square root simply means there is a 2 here. So you can even write the 2. If you understand that, it does not even affect. That is to remove the exponent of a 2. Introduce the square root. So by introducing the square root, we are going to obtain the x value, which is the square root of 4. And in that case, we are going to obtain plus or minus. But in this case, we just write 2 as it is. Okay, do not worry about plus or minus because whatever value that you're going to square, it comes back to a positive. So according to your syllabus, just focus with the positive value. So x in that case was going to give us a 2. So that's the same way that you're going to solve if this here, if the output, is 10. So in place of this y, you're going to substitute a 10. Take this one to the other side, you subtract, that's a minus 1. So meaning to say 9 is equal to x squared. You remove the square root, the square by introducing the square root, just like the previous case. So that means 3, the square root of 9 is 3, which is equal to x. Square root of x squared, that is x. So meaning to say this must be a 3. In the same manner, we can even substitute when this is 17 and so on and so on. So when this y is 17, take y to this one to the other side, minus 1. So what is 17 minus 1? That is 16. So 16 is equal to x squared. Remember, you removed this. The square root both sides, So meaning to say x was going to be the square root of 16, which is a 4. So you're going to have a 4. You do the same thing when this is 26. You substitute. It was going to be 26 minus 1 is equal to x squared. You have taken this to the other side. So 25 is equal to x squared, the square root. So x is 5, just like that. So this was going to be a continuous part up to the end where we are to have 5. The other way, like I said, you can decide to write x in terms of y. So from this equation that you're given, y is equal to x squared plus 1. Just like how you were solving, having the numbers, if this is a 5 and this is equal to x squared minus 1, you would plus 1, you were taking this, you're subtracting 5 minus 1 is equal to x squared, which is 4 is equal to x squared. But this time, you do not have this y. You are writing in terms of y. So you just take this one to the other side. So it is going to be y minus 1 is equal to x squared. There you could simplify because these are numbers. 5 minus 1 is 4. And you can even simplify the square root of 4, which is 2. But in this case, we can't simplify the square root of y minus 1. But the concept is the same of removing the square. How do you remove the square? You introduce the square root. So the square root here, the square root here. So that was going to neutralize this to give us x, which is equal to the square root of y minus 1. There, you could simplify. The square root of 4, you know it. But do you know the square root of y minus 1? No, we do not know this. So we are just going to leave it like that. This is the relationship that we now have of x written in terms of y, which is the square root of y minus 1. So it means by any value of y that I'm going to substitute, I must obtain exactly the x value that I'm having there. So let's start having this when y is 5. So we're going to have y is equal to the square root, when y is 5, this is x is equal to, so x is equal to the square root of y minus 1. So y is what? Is 5. So that is 5 minus 1, y minus 1. In place of y, you substitute a 5. So that is the square root of 5 minus 1, which is 4, and the square root of 4 is what? Is 2. So that is exactly what we got here. When y is 10, you do the same thing. X is equal to the square root of y minus 1. Y is 10. So that's 10 minus 1. 10 minus 1, that is 9. And the square root of 9, which is 3. And that is exactly what we have here. You do the same thing when this is 17, which is the square root of 17 minus 1, which is 16. The square root of 16, which is 4. So that is exactly what we have. When this is 26, you do the same thing. The square root of y minus 1, that's 26 minus 1, which is the square root of 25, which is 5. Take note, the square root is covering both y and minus 1. So it's the square root of 25. If you're given, this is 26, 26 minus 1, everything is under the square root. So you subtract 26 minus 1 if you want, you obtain 25, and the square root of 25 is 5. So this is how you're obtaining all these answers. Or just use your calculator for that. Okay? Just use your calculator for that. So these are the typical questions that we might have, and that is how you can simply attempt these typical questions. It's in your hands, the way that you are going to solve thereafter to determine the input values, which are the values of x. It depends with the way that you understand. Okay, can you make x the subject? Can you just substitute into this relationship that you're given? Then you solve for what? Then you solve for x. Can you do that? If you can do that, then maintain that. If you can use the other way, maintain the other way. So that's what we had, guys. Till we meet again.